Charles Bursell presents.
Hi, Charles Bursell here. I've noticed over time that I keep going back to one particular theme over and over again. And what I want to do today is give you a primer, or a primer, if you will, on that subject. And that is hashtag money gotta go. No money at all. I've talked about it on several podcasts, but never really gotten down to it. So I'm going to devote this particular half-hour podcast to that. All right, no money. I want you to imagine a world where the very concept of money does not exist. Everything is free. If you want a loaf of bread, you just go to the store and you get your loaf of bread, and you say hi to your neighbors and you walk out, and it's free. That's all there is to it. Now, it doesn't mean you can have absolutely everything you want just for the taking. Other people still have to make it. They have to grow the food. They have to distribute it. They have to manufacture the products. So that all still has to happen. So it doesn't mean you can just jump on a Lear jet and fly to Paris whenever you want. Well, you know, if there's a flight going to Paris and there's room for you, well, yeah, you can go. That's fine. Now, will that still happen? I'm thinking, sure. There are plenty of people who would like to travel. And I think there are plenty of people who would like to organize the world in such a way that we can travel, right? We'll get into all of this. Are there still laws? Well, of course there's still laws. We still have to live together. By the way, and it's not a by the way, it's right at the center. It should be right at the top. Democracy has to happen. We have to live democratically. Small d Democrat. I'm a small d Democrat. Or maybe better, all cap Democrat. I'm an all cap Democrat. So yeah, democracy. So there are still laws. There are far fewer laws because so many of our laws now are centered around money and commerce and finance and trade and all of that. It's crazy. Go through our books. It's all about money. By the way, and I'm sure you figured this out already and you're going to know as we go, I haven't got this completely mapped out. I'm not suggesting that I somehow, from high above, from my lofty perch, am going to suggest and then impose this great new system. I'm suggesting a fundamental tenet, no money, from which a new system would grow organically. As I said, the other fundamental tenet, it's two parts. It's no money and yes, democracy. I have all the faith in the world that a system would grow. We don't have to change things drastically. For example, the United States Constitution, it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. I mean, to be honest, if it was up to me, I'd give the whole darn place back to native tribes and put them in charge and let them just have at it. If I had the power to do that, I would. So anyway, let's get into this today. No money, yes, democracy. But people won't work, right? That's what you say. People, they won't go to work. So what are you saying? So you believe in wage slavery is what you're saying by that. People don't work for money. You know that, don't you? Yes, in our current system, they get up and they go to their job for money. But what are the actual motivations? You can Google this and find it pretty easily. 100 different researchers will tell you this. People are motivated by a purpose. They want to serve. They're motivated by service to other people. People are motivated to work by a need to reach a personal potential, to work with others as a team. What else motivates people at their work? Learning. Workers want to learn new things. They also want to have a certain amount of autonomy in their work. They want to have control over what they do. These are all the things that bring happiness to work and purpose to work. These are all the motivating components. Money isn't there at all. Money is the motivation for a job, but not the motivation for work. You get the difference, right? I don't have to go through all that. But in a world without money, we won't have the things that we need. Well, yes, we will. Yes, we will. We're still living together on the planet. We need things. We'll work and provide them for each other. You don't think we would do that? You must have a very low opinion of us. We'll have what we need. Well, okay then, we'll have what we need, but we won't have the things we want. We have the things we want because of unwilling workers? Is that what you're saying? If we don't force people to work in jobs that they don't want, then we won't have what we want. And you're okay with that. Well, I take pride in my work. I don't hate my job. I take pride in my work. Yeah, okay. I hear you. That's a kind of a tough psychological nut to crack. People do take pride in their own oppression. That might be hard to hear, and you might instinctively bristle at that. But when you have to get up every morning and go to a job that you don't really care about, well, you got to play some pretty good mind games with yourself. You got to develop a pretty good cognitive dissonance. You got to make it all okay. If you don't, you're going to be miserable, right? So, yeah, the whole taking pride in your work, I get that. I understand. You're working hard, you're providing for yourself and for your family, and then you're, in essence, buying your freedom for the weekend. I get it. But in a world without money, you won't have to do that. And if you want to work, and I think most of us do, there's still plenty to do. Like I said, the world doesn't change that much. It just gets a lot better for you and for everybody else. There's still plenty to do. We still need things. We need to eat, and we need to have houses and apartments, and we need things. So there's still plenty of jobs, just without all the negative connotation. All right, then. So if I don't have to work, then I just won't work. I just won't show up one day. I just feel like I want to sleep in. Well, no, you wouldn't do that because you'd make a commitment. In a world without money, when things still need to be done, you'll take on some responsibilities, and you'll commit to the other people at the workplace, and you have responsibilities, and you'll get up and you'll do it. You'll honor that because you're a good person. I have total faith in you. Well, yeah, but not everybody will. Well, sure, okay. I guess maybe there's some bad people out there, but I think it's pretty easy to devise a system where the people who you work with and the kind of the people in charge of the enterprise, we'd be able to know your record. You'd still kind of have a resume, and there'd be word of mouth. And if you're really bad at your job and you don't show up, then the next place you go to, you can't just walk in the door. Again, I got to caution you not to think that I'm completely reinventing the wheel. You can't just walk in the door and say, okay, I want to be a brain surgeon today. No. All of that, all the regular kind of schooling and education and experience, and you still have to be basically hired by the enterprise. People will decide if you're a fit, if they need your services. All of that, it doesn't really change too much. And yeah, if you're a bad coworker, and if you don't show up, or if you do a lousy job, then you won't be back. They'll ask you to say, you know what, you stay away. You go find something that's better suited for you. None of that changes. The only thing that changes is you don't get a paycheck, because you don't need a paycheck, because everything is free. There's no money. We're talking about no money, a world with no money. There still has to be places of business. There has to be an organized structure with workers, and people have to manage certain things. Sure, that still happens. Now, the difference is, and this is where I'm sure you might have already been thinking in your head, well, this is just socialism. No, it's not socialism. Socialism still maintains money as kind of an organizing system, right, as central to it. They just want to redistribute more evenly. And I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. And maybe that's a step in the right direction. And sure, I'm not going to criticize that. Equitable redistribution is important. But I'm talking about no money at all. So who's the boss then if there are no owners, right? The person who owns things in today's system is the boss, right? Well, again, democracy. Whenever you think no money, you got to think right next to it democracy. They don't work without each other. So the people who work, who produce, who create, who get together, who organize together in a particular place to build or create a particular product or service, all that happens in a democratic way, real democracy. So call me a socialist. I'm fine with that. But what I'm talking about now is the final. There's no such thing as final. Forget I said that. I don't know what happens 100 or 1,000 years from now. I'm not going to pretend to know. So call me a socialist. I don't care. That's fine. But money has to go. Money got to go. # money got to go. And by the way, a little side note, for all the horrible things you can say about the so-called founding fathers, is all white property owning men, and they had slaves, and of course it was horrible. But despite that, they wrote a pretty interesting constitution. It's really not bad. They understood that it needed to be flexible and that times would change. And they created a document that would allow for that. It was kind of genius. And so as a first step here, we don't have to just throw everything away. We really can work with what we've got. This really can be done. Democracy, yes. Money, no. World is very possible. I'm not inventing a whole brand new system. All right. Other arguments you might make. People are naturally selfish. They're naturally competitive. All right. Here's the deal. People aren't naturally anything. Biology, we all have biology. It affects who we are, what we are. We all have psychology, and that's highly malleable, depending very much on early childhood experience and the kind of family you were raised in, the kind of parenting you were exposed to. And then number 3, social conditioning. The overused word, almost comically, society. The society you live in, all the rules, all the social mores are going to have an impact on who you are and what you are and how you behave. And if we can really work on that, we can change ourselves. So people are not naturally anything. If you use that as your starting point in a debate, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. People are not naturally this or naturally that. That's one component, biology. We're talking about no money. We're talking about a world with no money. All right, your argument again. Let's see. We are motivated by reward and punishment. Even after all I said about we're naturally this or naturally that. Okay, yeah, I think that's kind of a safe thing to say. We are motivated by reward and punishment. Okay. But does that mean we have to create a system, a society where you're literally threatened with death? I mean, is that, we have to be motivated? It has to be a life and death question here. Work at a job, even if you hate it, or you and your family will starve and die. I mean, that's basically what we've got right now. It's a life and death proposition. This assumes, talking about us making assumptions about our nature, this assumes the very, very worst of people, that we only work for the betterment of others on the threat of our own death? That's it. Why would you assume that about us, about humans? Well, whoever said life was fair? Just suck it up, be a man. Oh, I know you've heard. I've heard it. I know you've heard it. Life isn't fair. Go do your job that you hate. That's what a man does. That's not strength. That is not strength. That's surrender. That's just surrender. Well, my mother was a single mom and worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs. She scrubbed floors so I could have a better life. She's a hero. Yes, okay, fine. Good for her. That's wonderful. This is an iconic story. Presidents from the podium, at their State of the Union, talk about people like this. But the problem is it glosses over the fact that your mother, if she had to do this, scrub floors and work 2, 3 jobs, she was totally screwed. Yes, praise her for being unselfish, but you know what? She was screwed. No person should ever have to surrender her own life for someone else's, even for her children. I mean, God bless her for doing it, but my God, we're somehow going to take this story and make her a hero and then close our eyes to the system that forced it to happen. We're burying the lead here. I mean, that's the lead story of that little parable, that we live in a world that makes this necessary. That's terrible. Well, we have a public safety net. Nobody's going to starve. We have services for the poor. Oh, God, come on. Yeah, you're just proving my point. It's been proven beyond a shadow of any doubt that this does not work. I mean, yes, it works for certain individuals, but I mean, as a whole, in organizing society, it obviously doesn't work. With so much poverty and so much hardship and so much suffering, it obviously doesn't work on the scale that it's intended. So yes, safety nets, they do work for some of us, some of the time. But again, you look at the overall picture, you look at all the suffering in this country and in the world. No, public safety nets are not going to be the ultimate answer. Also, there's the social stigma. People don't want to admit there's a huge social stigma among many of us about admitting help or asking for help. And then, of course, all the political fights over what and where and who, the public safety net helps and how it helps and how much. And, oh, my God, the political fights. A world without money. Money, no. Democracy, yes. I swear to God it's what we need. Oh, but I work hard. I deserve to be rewarded. Yeah, you know what? Everybody works hard. I've talked about this before. I'm sure you've heard it on this program. Everybody works hard. You ever heard of the working poor? They work hard. Nobody works harder than poor people. Oh, my God, poor people work so hard. Oh, the bureaucratic system, the hoops they make you jump through. Lord almighty. It's a full-time job to be poor. And then you got lousy transportation, and you spend all day jumping on buses and transferring, and you're working this lousy job and that lousy job. Nobody works harder than poor people. Don't tell me you work hard. My God, that just is never going to work with me. Everybody works hard. If you take all the money in the world and divide it by all the people in the world, you know what it comes out to? Now these are big numbers, so it's hard to, but roughly, okay, just very roughly, about $24,000 a year. So that means if you make more than $24,000 a year, it means that someone else has to make less than $24,000 a year. And obviously, there are a lot of people in this world who make a hell of a lot more than $24K, right? So there are a few really, really crazy rich people. You've seen the graphs, you've seen the charts of income distribution. In this country, it's bad enough, but look at it on a world scale. Lord mercy. So yeah, working smart. Anybody can succeed. Anybody can be Oprah. Oh my God, that is such a freaking lie. That is such a myth. And if you're buying into that, oh man. All right, so no money. How does it work? Again, as I said earlier, it's not that different from today. You get up and you go to work. Well, what if I don't want to do anything? I'm just going to lay around and watch TV. Good, fine, do it. Do nothing. Lay around and watch TV. Especially with technology and artificial intelligence and robotics and blah, blah, blah. We don't even need everybody to work. Lay around and watch TV. That's fine. But everybody will do that. No, they won't. And you know what? You won't either. You won't either because you'll be bored. Nobody wants to lay home and watch TV. You're not going to do it. Do you ever do what they call a staycation, where you just want to take a little break and you just stay home? And that's all you want to do. I've done this. Get a few days on the calendar and just, man, I need a rest. I'm just going to literally just lay on the couch and eat food and watch TV and just relax. Oh, it's the best thing in the world. Oh, it's so great for about, 2 or 3 hours. And then you just start feeling bad. If you try to do this for more than a day or two, it's the worst feeling in the world. And you know it is. You've experienced this. I have. Nobody's going to do nothing. Everybody's going to want to get up and go, and especially when you don't have to. You're freed from this horrible, tedious job you hate. You're going to be excited. You're going to be motivated to find work that you love. And you know what? We talked earlier about how society creates peer pressure. Right now, our peer pressure is to have things and be successful and all of that. The peer pressure will change here. It'll be to contribute. That's what's going to be expected of you. You don't have to work, but I suspect there will be a real social stigma. It would develop against those who choose not to contribute in any way. You're going to have peer pressure, really good peer pressure, that helps you to really get out there and get it done. Well, I already love my work. I love the people I work with. Sure, yeah, right. You're a teacher or you're a doctor or you're a nurse. You're doing something that you feel proud about and you like the people you work with. And you know what? If enough of those people feel the same way, and I'm sure they do, then your life is going to change very little. You're going to get up and you're going to go to your work and you're going to enjoy your coworkers and you're going to provide a service. That's still going to happen. Absolutely. Very little will change in your life, except when you go to the store, everything's free. You just go and you get your vegetables and your bread and you're good. Well, what about the schlub working on a factory line? They can love their work too. Sure, I suppose so. Yeah, you can. I'll tell you this. Okay, full disclosure here. If you work in a factory that's just making some plastic crap toy that nobody really needs, or some really like high-end crap that only rich people can afford, yeah, you're probably out of luck. There's a good chance that job goes away. Because where there's no money and there's no profit, then those things will just go away. We don't really need them, and there won't be enough people in the world to make those happen. So, yeah, not everybody can have a high-end yacht. Life will change a little bit for people with high-end yachts. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. And for the people in the factory who produce high-end yachts, yeah, life might change a little bit. But there are like I said, lots of jobs, lots of things need to be done. Lots of people need to be cared for. Lots of kids need to be taught, and people need to take care of each other. And we'll be able to do that. Well, if there's no money, if there's no pay, who picks up the garbage? Are you kidding me? Outside all day, riding around in a truck with your buddies? You're providing a real, genuine service to the community, for the environment? There'll be waiting lists for those jobs. You got to have a better imagination. You got to think about this. A world with no money. Money got to go. But here's a big one now. How do we get, how do we get the raw materials? We got to build things we need, schools and hospitals and transportation. Well, again, the same place we get them now. It's not that different, but with democracy, our central organizing value, instead of profit, decisions will just be a lot smarter. We'll use far, far less. We'll build far less. We'll manufacture much, much less. We won't have to make 1,000 complicated laws to protect the environment from big business because we are the business. Democracy permeates public and private life. It's collectivism. That's the greatest evil of them all. I'm an individual. What about freedom? Number one, you don't have freedom now. You have to work or you'll die. So if it's all about freedom for you, you haven't got it. Two, you don't have many choices here. Three, choice itself alone is not a universal good. I mean, I don't have to choose between 250 different deodorants and 500 different breakfast cereals. The money world has just made things insane. Freedom, choice, yeah, they're good, but they're not the entire ball game. And number four, here, an entire industry, an entire multi-billion-dollar industry, advertising, marketing, to create demand, to tweak with your freedom. Oh, I don't listen to commercials. I'm not affected. No, of course you're not. They spend those billions of dollars because it doesn't work. Of course it works. If you're all about freedom, wait till you live in the no money world. Your freedom will go through the roof. This whole collectivism versus individualism thing, the whole idea of the founding fathers, and for the time being, we're stuck with it. And I said earlier, it's not really too bad. The original idea was about balance. If you're just crying freedom at the top of your lungs, then you're just showing your own ignorance. You're not a patriot. You're just a dope. The other half of the equation is justice, equality, liberty and justice for all. That thing you want to make kids say, every day at school and Pledge of Allegiance, liberty and justice, not just liberty for all, liberty and justice for all. If you're going to force kids to say this, then you ought to know what it means. Eliminating money creates more freedom than you ever dreamed of. And at the same time, by embracing democracy, all of our incentives line up with our values, and our values line up with our needs. We need a healthy environment, so we value a healthy environment, and all of our incentives lead us to making policy for a healthy environment. There's no bogus artificial fight anymore between environment and the economy. I just made huge air quotes, economy. Jobs versus ecology. That's crazy. That's an artificial fight. If you don't have to work on threat of your own death, you won't work for an enterprise that's doing harm. More harm than good. Most really bad things that are done in the world of business today are done by perfectly nice, good people, but they're just trying to get by. The big money guys are pulling the strings. They've got all the power, but only because they control the system. They can't actually get on the factory line, get on the oil rigs, get on the slaughterhouse kill floor. That takes workers who are forced to do evil on threat of death. Literally, workers who rationalize or turn a blind eye because they've got to feed themselves and their kids. And when they can't rationalize or turn a blind eye anymore, well, then they suffer from depression. They abuse their spouse and kids. They take their own lives. God, Dang, man. Getting rid of money entirely, getting rid of the very concept of money will have a ripple effect to a better life for all of us, collectively as a nation, our communities, our families, and each of us individually. It's the only possible future. The continued existence of money as the central organizing system of our lives cannot sustain us. It has to go. Continuing down this path has already led us to a dystopia of environmental degradation, physical and mental health pandemics, and a political system devoid of humanity, goodwill, or common sense. We are all just cogs in an antiquated, rusted machine that's driving us off a cliff. Well, I'm not a cog. You know what? Yes, you are. I say you are. You're kidding yourself because you can't imagine an alternative. You're a hostage to a system and you've developed Stockholm Syndrome. I am not a cog. Okay, all right. Maybe you're not a cog. Maybe you're right. There's only one other option. You're one of the people driving this thing. Or at least you're greasing the wheels. You're steering. You're benefiting from the money system and don't give a crap about the 90% of the world suffering. You pretend the suffering doesn't exist. You cling to this myth that anyone can be successful in this system. You cling to the myth that your own life is fine. You have no idea how much better your life will be when the rest of your fellow humans and non-human citizens of the planet are happy and healthy. You still have the mistaken belief that their success will inhibit your own success. You have that exactly backwards. Their success will feed and enhance your success. Getting rid of money is the answer. It's been proven over time, without question, to be an unmitigated failure in creating a healthy existence for us and for the planet. So how do we get there? How do we get there? I don't know. I'm not really sure. But I do know this. I think if we can imagine the idea, if we can look clearly at possible scenarios, I mean, this is an essential step. It's not sufficient, but it's absolutely necessary. You know, that concept of sufficient and necessary. In the end, it will be like, you know, every other advance. We'll reach a tipping point when enough people agree that it happens on its own momentum. There just won't be any other option. A world where money does not exist. No, don't just redistribute it more equitably. I get that. But no, that's certainly better than what we have now. I won't oppose that. But as long as money exists, poverty will exist. As long as money exists, people will starve and fall prey to preventable disease, will be exploited as workers, will live in filth. Not all of us, but many of us, most of us, I don't know. With progressive social democratic policies, far fewer will suffer, far more can live just lives. I concede that. That's good. But it's not good enough. It's not a grand enough vision. It might be a step, good. But bottom line, money gotta go. No money, gone. Democracy, yes. Money, no. Find this and every episode and more at the website charlesbursell.com. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You know how that works. Listen and subscribe at Apple Podcasts or your favorite platform. Search Charles Bursell Presents.